All right, welcome to The Explainer. I'm really glad you're here today because we're jumping straight into a topic that, let's be honest, starts some pretty intense debates in engineering teams. I'm talking about the CI/CD strategy war. We're going to break down the core philosophies behind how software actually gets shipped out the door. And by the end of this, you'll have a crystal clear framework to use for your own projects. So let's just kick things off with a highly polarizing question. Do you deploy straight to production? I know, just hearing that probably makes some of you nod in total agreement, while the other rest of you are literally breaking out in a cold sweat right now. It's a question that really challenges our deepest, kind of ingrained biases about deployment and risk. Here's our battle map for today. We'll start with the deployment dilemma, then look at three main strategies: the minimalist, the paranoid, and the practical. After that, we'll hit on some really common CI/CD mistakes and wrap up by giving you the tools to pick the exact right strategy for your team. Okay, part one, the deployment dilemma. Let's talk about shipping code. Let's ground this in a scenario we all know. Imagine your team is working on an e-commerce platform, right? You've just wrapped up this fantastic new checkout feature. Customers can save multiple payment methods. There's this shiny new Buy Now button that skips the cart entirely. It's great. You've tested it locally on your laptop, and hey, works perfectly. But here is the massive dilemma. How exactly does that feature get to your real customers? Do you just push it straight out to them, or does it need to be filtered through weeks and weeks of testing? Well, that brings us to strategy one, the minimalist, going from dev to prod instantly. This is a lightning-fast, two-step pipeline. You write your code, you push it up to Git, your automated tests run, and if everything passes, boom, straight to production. This setup takes code from a local commit directly to live customers in literally minutes. There are no intermediate stages and absolutely no manual bottlenecks. And there's a really great way to think about the philosophy here, which is the cooking recipe analogy. You know how when some people cook, they constantly taste the food after adding every single ingredient? Well, the minimalist approach is more like following a super precise recipe with exact measurements. If your automated unit and integration tests are exceptionally good, like really reliable, you trust those measurements. You don't need manual taste testing environments because you know the dish is going to turn out fine at the end. Now, this approach is obviously ideal for startups that need to iterate incredibly fast based on user feedback. Or, for internal tools where a broken feature just means a coworker pings you on Slack. No big deal. But here's the catch. If your tests only check the happy path and completely ignore what happens when an external processor like Stripe goes down, production breaks. And when that happens, your customers essentially become your QA team. They're the ones complaining on X, flooding your support desk. And ironically, the constant looming fear of breaking production can actually backfire and make these minimalist teams way more conservative. They actually become terrified to commit new code. All right, shifting gears completely. Strategy two, the paranoid. We're talking 5+ environments. In this setup, our shiny new checkout feature has a long journey ahead of it. First, dev catches the basic server integration stuff. Then it moves over to test, where QA engineers spend hours trying to manually break it with all sorts of weird edge cases. After that is staging, a production clone where you run heavy load tests. Seeing what happens when 10,000 customers hit checkout at the exact same time. Then it goes to pre-prod, which is basically a final sanity check for the deployment process itself. And finally, maybe weeks later, it reaches production. There's a quote that captures this logic perfectly. It's like airport security. You have multiple layers that each check for different things for the exact same person. Now sure, it might feel like total overkill to go through all these checkpoints, but each layer serves a highly specific, distinct purpose. One layer checks your ticket, the next checks your ID, the next scans your bags. In software terms, one layer checks functional logic, another verifies database migrations, and another checks performance under heavy load. And the truth is, this absolute obsession with safety makes total sense in high-stakes industries. If you're working in banking, finance, or healthcare, a bug isn't just a frustrated user. We're talking lost money, massive regulatory fines, or even harmed lives. So you need it. But the downsides are huge. For one, it is painfully slow. Plus, maintaining 5 different environments is wildly expensive, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars a month. And honestly, over time, your lower environments inevitably drift out of sync with production anyway, which just makes all those tests less and less realistic. So where's the middle ground? Strategy 3, the practical. This is your streamlined 3-step pipeline: dev, staging, production. Now, the key difference here is actually how staging is used. You're not manually testing every single new feature in staging. You're relying on your automated tests to do that heavy lifting. Instead, staging is strictly maintained as a production clone, and it's reserved for testing the scary changes. I mean things like massive database migrations, completely switching payment processors, or some major code refactoring. Because this approach removes that whole manual QA bottleneck, you get to maintain incredible deployment speed. You're shipping in days, not weeks. But you stay safe by using some very specific guardrails. For instance, canary deployments. You push that new checkout button to just, say, 5% of your servers to actively monitor for errors. You also use feature flags, turning the feature on for 1% of users, then maybe 10%, and finally 100%. And if your monitoring suddenly detects a spike in error rates, automated rollbacks kick in and instantly revert the system. So it's speed, absolutely, but with a highly effective safety net. Okay, let's move on to some common CI/CD mistakes, the traps that so many teams fall into. These pitfalls are just everywhere. First up, hoarding environments that literally nobody uses. I mean, if you have 6 environments and no one on the team can actually explain the difference between pre-prod and staging, you are wasting time and money. Second, staging drifting out of sync. Look, testing in an outdated staging environment only gives you false confidence. It tells you absolutely nothing about how that code will behave in the real world. Third, copying Netflix's minimalist pipeline just because, well, they're Netflix, while completely ignoring the fact that you do not have their elite automated testing coverage. And finally, my personal favorite mistake, when teams have flaky, totally unreliable tests, rather than doing the hard work to actually fix them, they just slap on manual testing environments to compensate, which slows the whole operation to a crawl. So, getting down to it, choosing your strategy. What's the right move for you? Honestly, this entire debate really boils down to one simple question. What is the cost of a bug in production? Think about it. If a bug is low risk, or maybe just mildly annoying, and you're a fast-moving startup, the minimalist approach is great. Now, if a bug is catastrophic, like costing millions of dollars or ruining lives, you absolutely, without question, need the paranoid approach. But if you fall somewhere in the middle, where bugs have a moderate cost, the practical approach is going to be your best friend. If you're sitting there unsure of where your team actually stands right now, here is a highly actionable recommendation for you. Just start with the practical 3-stage pipeline, get that running, and then simply monitor your reality. If you find you're shipping way too slowly, shift a bit toward the minimalist. On the flip side, if too many reputation-damaging bugs are slipping through to your customers, shift toward the paranoid and start introducing more layers. I want to leave you with a question to reflect on regarding your own pipeline. Next time something breaks, ask yourself, are you just blindly adding more environments and manual bottlenecks to feel safe? Or are you actually doing the work to fix the quality of your automated tests? Because understanding that distinction, that is exactly how you win the CI/CD strategy war. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this gives your team the clarity you need to ship better, safer software.